Welcome to Postcards to the Universe with Melissa Caprio. Do you believe in magic? What if you were told that all you had to do was get a little creative and work a magic spell to bring anything you can imagine into your life? Here on Postcards to the Universe, we will share manifesting, tips, postcards, creativity, abundance, and prosperity. Here is your host, Melissa Caprio.
Everybody, and welcome to Postcards to the Universe with Melissa, creating the life you crave. It's Wednesday. How are you guys doing? I hope everybody's doing well. I love my Wednesdays because I always have really cool guests on, and I get to have great conversations. And today is no different. I have author and creator of the Practical Tarot Method, Lisa Kessler. And I'm really excited to talk to her, especially because, which is so weird how this happens for me, but even before I really scheduled Lisa, I knew that I wanted to start learning how to read tarot cards. So I've been
Perfect.
I've been practicing, and yesterday was the first time, Lisa, that I put on Facebook to just some friends, hey, I need practice. Ask me one question, and I'll give you a 3-card spread. So it's been fun learning. So I'm
Look at
really
you. Love it.
I'm really excited to talk to you. So, just for your people that are tuning in, if you're new to my show, I just want to say welcome, and I hope you enjoyed today's show. And if you do and you want to listen to some of my other guests, you can always find my show on any of your favorite podcasting platforms. You can also find it on my website, postcardstotheuniverse.com. I put up all the shows under podcasts, and Own Times Radio, which is what we're recording on right now. You can find all the shows in the archives, and there's always a description about my guest and about the show. So it gives you an idea of what we're going to be talking about. So I hope that you come back and listen to more shows. And a little bit about me, my background is I'm a photographer, I'm a visual artist. That's actually my background. And I came out with a book. God, I can't even believe it's been so long. 2019, titled Postcards to the Universe, Harness the Universe's Power and Manifest Your Dreams. And I have people create manifesting postcards. It's kind of like a vision board, mini vision board. They send me their postcard, I photograph it, and when their manifestation shows up in the reality, I share their story. So you can check out my book. You can find it at Barnes and Noble, Amazon, your favorite bookstore, and I have 30 of those in the book. And I'm hoping to release a second edition. I'm waiting, talking to my publisher now, so we'll see. And I have new photos, so it's been quite a journey, and I just love it. And if you want to know more about making a manifesting postcard, just go to my website, postcardstotheuniverse.com. You'll see how to make one, where to send it, and of course, you can reach out to me if you have any questions. I love helping people create them. Okay, so let me give you a little info about today's guest, Lisa Kessler. So, with 2 decades of professional tarot experience, she is the creator of the Practical Tarot deck and the author of the Practical Tarot Method, learning to read tarot cards intuitively. She offers readings globally and teaches her practical tarot approach both in person and online. A dedicated educator, Lisa also developed Tarot for Writers, a course presented at numerous writers' conferences. That sounds really interesting. Aimed at fostering creative intuition. She has a YouTube channel which she features weekly tarot readings, and the Practical Tarot Method empowers readers to confidently connect with their intuition and understand the cards. Using tarot as a tool for spiritual guidance. The book provides practical exercises and diverse applications, including meditation, journaling, and creative inspiration. It also features her inclusive practical tarot deck, showcasing a wide range of human diversity with a 32-page color insert displaying the full deck. And if you want to find out more about her, go to her website, which is www.authorlisakessler.com. And her last name is spelled Kessler. Welcome, Lisa. Thanks so much for being here with me today.
Hi, thanks so much for inviting me. And I love that you are learning tarot. And I just love when the universe brings you together at just the right moment. I just
I
think that is the coolest, like it's winking at us.
Yeah, exactly. And now when I talk to you, I can understand things a little bit better than if I had no idea, right? I've always been fascinated with the cards, and I always kind of thought, "Oh my god, it's so complicated." But what's kind of interesting is I've been learning more by following some YouTubers about astrology. And that sort of sparked adding the astrology part with the cards. And for some reason, it's kind of like clicking now in my in my brain, a little at a time. And I bought myself one of those decks that have the words, that go along with the
Hmm.
cards, what the court cards are. So that way, as I'm practicing, I'm getting to know what each card means. I'm trusting my intuition, and then I also have a pendulum that I use to kind of confirm for me, if
Yes,
I'm
I
if
love
I'm picking
that.
things up. Yeah. So how did you get into doing the tarot, and was it something you've always done and that you've just loved, or is it something you sort of stumbled into?
Well, funny story. Sounds kind of similar to you. I have always loved tarot. And when I graduated from high school, I was like, okay, I'm going to be so good with tarot cards. I'm going to be an amazing psychic reader. And everyone tells you to get the Rider Waite deck as the
Mm.
original starter deck. So I got that and I opened it up, and every card had like angry men on it. And I just,
Yeah.
I couldn't get any messages. I'm trying
There's
to
so
memorize
many
the book.
cool I know, right? There's so many cool decks now, and then you just created your own, which I love, right? You're just like, I'm just gonna make my own deck, which is great.
Well, actually, of course, obviously, I couldn't connect with that deck, and I couldn't seem to memorize the book. And I just thought, I am not smart enough for tarot. This is so sad. So I just collected decks because I liked the artwork and they were beautiful. And I think because I had so many decks that when I finally connected with one, I was like, huh, there's a cycle. The minor arcana has a cycle and the major arcana has a cycle. Wait, are these symbols on these other decks? And I started pulling them out, and all of a sudden I realized, oh my gosh, I can read off any tarot deck. And so that kind of was the blossoming. And then when I started to recognize cards by symbols and by cycles, I started to realize when I read for other people, different symbols would jump off the same card. And I thought, these must be readings for them. And it kind of just grew. And eventually I started reading for other people. And to me, tarot reflects our own lives, the cycles in our lives. I mean, you talk about manifesting too, but we always want it to be a straight line to the dream, and it never is. It's like two steps forward, one step back,
Yeah,
three steps forward, two steps
exactly.
back. You know, life is messy. And so basically, when I started to realize that tarot reflects that in our lives as a reader, it also is giving you messages that you resonate with. Everybody has a different life experience. And so when I started teaching tarot, that's where the practical tarot method really came out, because I I think that you become a better tarot reader when you trust your intuition and your life
Mhm.
experience. You drew that card for a reason. And maybe you drew that card. Sometimes it can be literal. Like some people
Yeah.
see the king cards as their dad, and if
Right.
you draw the
Right.
king card and the first thing that pops in your head is my dad, please call your dad. That was the reason you got that card. Doesn't matter what the book says. If that's the card you associate with your dad and he was the first thing that popped in your mind when you turned over that card, that was your message. And if I can help people to find tarot as a useful, that's why I call it practical, a useful everyday tool, you can really become best friends with your intuition, and the cards can become validations for you. Sometimes I'm a fiction writer, and so I
Mhm.
teach tarot for writers. And I found
Love
over the
that.
years that I love writing books with my tarot cards, because when I start getting in my own head where I'm like, I don't know what happens next, and I don't know, will my agent be able to sell this? I don't know. Will readers like, is this marketable right now? Maybe I should see what the trends are. You completely cut off your crown chakra. You no longer have writer intuition, you have writer doubt. And
Right.
you can instantly shuffle tarot cards, spread them out, and have the intention of what happens next, and pull a card. And I kid you not, it works every single time. You're like, oh my gosh, that is what happens next. And it may be something that you hadn't remotely thought of, but it gets your ego out of the way and you get pure intuition. That's what I think the magic of tarot cards is that when you flip over that card for one split second, your ego's out of the way and the universe can give you a clear message. And that is a gift. And so anyway, I think everyone should use tarot cards, but
Yeah.
it
No,
is, daunting.
great. Well, I love the fact that everybody that I know who is a reader does it in their own unique way, and there is no
Hmm.
necessary right way to read the cards. I know each card has specific meanings, but some use more of the literal that they learned from the Rider Waite deck, and then there's others that use the images on the cards and some of these beautiful decks and the symbolism on the images to get even deeper into the messages, which is, I find really fascinating. There's a woman that I follow, and she reads as a storyteller. So as she's talking, whatever she's talking about, and she's turning over the cards, she'll get into how that specific card relates to the subject that she's talking about in the story, and lets that allow her story. And I think watching like people like you and other readers, it took it down for me about being intimidated by it, because like
Right.
you, like if you want to be a good student, you want to follow it exactly, and sometimes you think, I'm just not going to get it because I just can't figure this out. But if you're open to just saying, you know what, let me just see and play with the deck and just kind of see where it takes me. I love that.
Yes. Yes. And I when I made the practical tarot deck, I actually in the guidebook gave every single card like a little meditation or journal question at the end, so that you can develop your own personal relationship with what that card means to you. Because what the Four of Cups means to me may not be exactly the same as what it means to you. And I feel like if you can get a personal connection with with your cards, you can get better, faster, stronger at getting clear messages from the universe, as opposed to trying to memorize. And again,
Yeah.
if your gut that day zooms in over on this deer in the background, and for you, deer, a stag means leadership, go with it. That's your message. So anyway, I love that you are trying out all these different ways of using tarot, because it really is just a tool. So I don't believe there is a right or wrong. There's just, how can you make this tool work even better for you?
Yeah, exactly. I have a question. Do you read in reverse? Because I know some people do and some people don't. I'm learning the reverse because it's just helping me understand it better. I don't know moving forward, when I get more experience, how I'm going to interpret the cards. But I know some people don't do the reverse. Do you?
Yes, I do
Okay.
not. I do not. And I
Okay.
have it in both the book and the guidebook of why not, but you
Mhm.
certainly can. I know I have friend readers who do read reverse, and they feel like it takes a 78 card deck and makes it 156 cards because
Right.
they're reading
Right.
reverses. However, I feel like as and maybe it's because I'm an old timer reader, but I feel like the tarot deck, 78 cards, really covers all the aspects of your life. And I do not believe that the universe would show you what you can't have. So, like,
Right.
if you turn over a reverse of the sun, I don't think the universe is going, haha, no good luck for you, no joy. Um,
Right.
I
Right.
don't think
Yeah.
the universe would do that to you. Plus, as a reader, sometimes I'll have people pull their own cards, and I kid you not, they will sit there nervously going, I don't know which way to turn over. I don't, they're too
Yeah.
scared to turn over the card because they don't want reversed. And I just think I don't believe the universe would tell you what you can't have. So I don't read
Yeah.
reversals. I also
Yeah.
think that
I,
you can draw with an intention that's
mhm.
like, what is stopping me? And you don't need a reversal then. It's telling you, you know?
Right,
So,
right.
because,
Well, there's enough cards in the 78 deck of challenges and warnings
hmm
and
exactly.
anyway, and that's what I've heard from others. So yeah, I'm not experienced enough yet to make a decision. I'm just kind of going with it and seeing how it works for me. If I feel like I the reverse is something I want to include, then I will. If I don't, I won't. But like I
Right.
said, I'm not versed enough in it yet. This is just new.
Right,
But
right. And again, it really comes down to what resonates with you. You want
mhm,
your metaphysical tools to resonate. And if you are following someone else's rules, then it really doesn't. So I'm very passionate about why I don't read reversals, but I
mhm,
certainly don't hold it against someone if they go, well, they resonate with me. That's awesome. Then
right.
read reversals. So
Yeah. That's what I've
I think.
heard from the different readers, so it makes perfect sense for what you're saying to me. It's just like it's the same thing. Like we're so individual, right? And our
Mhm.
our intuition, everybody's intuition is so individual. So you have to go with whatever your gut's telling you to do. So,
Right.
as a reader, how have has some of your clients been impacted by getting a reading with you?
Well, I have enough of them that always come back that I usually
Yeah.
hear things like, I wasn't blindsided. I was ready, or I was tapped in, and so I was paying attention. A lot of times, tarot is. I know movies and books. It's used as a plot
Mhm.
device. Oh, here comes the death card. Someone's going to die. But that is not what the
Right.
death card means. It's just closing a
Right.
chapter and opening a new one. And so sometimes I feel like people come to a reading, and people who have never had a reading, I can always tell because they'll sit down and they'll say, "Please don't tell me when I'm going to die." And I'm like,
Right.
tarot cards do not do that.
No. No, they
That is
don't
not
do
for us
that.
to know. And
Yeah.
even if someone, tarot card said it's going to be, on June 6th of 2029, that was for that second. You make
Right.
so many decisions because we have free will. You turn left instead of it's changed. Now you're going to be so even if they could tell you, it changes so rapidly. That's why no one can pull tarot cards and go, oh, here's the lottery numbers, because there's so
Yeah.
many free wills involved. By the time they draw the numbers, it's all changed. So anyway, I use tarot
Yeah.
cards usually when I'm doing readings for people. It's because they want insight into what's coming up. I do a lot of manifesting coaching, and we always pull cards at the end with the intention of your month ahead of your goals. And so
Mhm.
it will give you a message of, okay, I'm going to have a lot of ideas. I got the Knight of Swords. I'm going to have a lot of ideas. I need to be organized about which one I'm working on. Otherwise, I won't finish any. And then, we might get the Four of Cups where we're, worried about how other people are doing and how come mine isn't coming as easily. And, and so then we can
Yeah.
talk about not wasting energy comparing and that kind of thing. So we use tarot cards a lot to help with focusing and not so much on, telling what's coming. I have had one person once, it came in and the tower came up. And so then
Mhm.
she was wondering, well, everything feels fine. And I said, well, the tower isn't to make you afraid, it's to make you aware that big change is coming, but good
Right.
things happen from big change. So we
Right.
pulled an oracle card, and the oracle card from a whole different deck was disruption. And I told her, you came in asking for a reading about your work. And I think you came in because on a subconscious level, your intuition's going, things are not right here. And she said, well,
Mm-hmm.
I'm not unhappy. And I said, well, you wouldn't have asked for a reading about your work if everything was completely perfect. So I got to think that the tower and the disruption have to do with your employment. So if I were you, I would just start poking around and see what else is out there, because there's a reason the universe wants you to be aware. And she came back 3 weeks later and said, you know what's weird? Yesterday, I got laid off at work, but I already had an interview lined up because I had poked around and found this other job. And I thought, oh my gosh, I would love if I could get that. And she goes, so I wasn't even blindsided. I just knew, that I had
Yeah.
already set this all up. And so, that one was a really cool moment when, I got the universe let me see how tarot cards could help someone. That was pretty neat.
Yeah, it is. It's really actually neat. I mean, I've been going to readers for years, so this isn't new for me. It's just new being on the other side and understanding the cards a little bit better. But it is
Right.
fascinating and how accurate it
Mhm.
is. Truthfully, people think, oh, it's so woo woo, and well, maybe it is a little woo woo, but it's scarily accurate, right? Because everything is
Yes.
vibration and energy, and we're all tapping into that energy. And I think when you have the cards, it's just another tool to help you interpret
Right.
the energy that's already existing, right? And it helps pull it down and pictures and words so we can kind of navigate what is going on. Is there a particular spread that you like to do, that you do on a regular basis, like you have a go-to, or is it always different?
Well, in the book, I give a whole bunch of my personal spreads
Hmm.
that I do for people, and I'm a goofball, so I have things like the Maya pyramid spread, and I have the
Mm,
X-wing, which is like the Star Wars X-wings. We lay out the cards in an X, but
mhm,
but my goal is always to make a spread where there's more positive than negative, and
mhm,
also where there are not so many cards that you lose your place and you forget what these cards meant. I feel like, and I know that there are people who love the Celtic cross, and more
mhm,
power to you. That if that works for you, that's awesome. But what I have discovered over the years is big spreads like that where you've got, 15 cards, 16
mhm,
cards out there. It's too much information, and the person I'm reading for ends up overwhelmed, or they focus on just one card, which maybe wasn't the most important one in the spread.
mhm,
And to me, it gives people more confusion than it does clarity. So I try to do spreads that have fewer cards with clear intentions, clear meanings. So and always more positive than negative. I feel like if people get too much thrown at them of do this, don't do that, don't do that, don't do
mhm,
that, they leave afraid. And fear is a really low vibration. You want to leave
mhm,
inspired, so that you're attracting. And so I'm a strong believer in that it's okay to have something to overcome in your spread, but having, blocks and challenges and negative and things like that just leave people scared. So like my Maya pyramid spread has the ultimate goal at the top, and then it has three things that might be a challenge for you right now, but it has four amazing gifts that you have to overcome. And
mhm,
so people leave empowered that they are going to overcome it. And here's how, they have a map. So to me, I don't worry so much about the exact spread. I can feel it when we work together. A lot of the times, it's just I use a pendulum to pull the cards. My primary guide, Morgan, pulls cards. For me, it gets me out of the equation. So my guide is connected, and they know that the universe is trying to get you, and I'm kind of out of the equation. I just pull the one that the pendulum has changed swing, and I'm like, okay, it's that one. And so for me, I usually use my pendulum. We have an intention, and we pull as many cards as Morgan pulls. Usually it's 4 or 5, but usually I don't use spreads as often as I use my pendulum. For me, that just works well. Funny story, I have a weekly mastermind, and one week we do it on Zoom. And one week at the end of the night, we always pull one card for everyone who's at the mastermind. And this woman who was in California, and I'm in Florida, Morgan drew the 3 of Wands for her, and it was like, you are ready. Stop second guessing the decision you made. Take action. This is, fire. Let's go. And she was like, okay, heard. And then we went to the next person, and she was muted. And when we got done, she unmuted herself and said, can I show you something? And she was across the country, on the other side of the country, with her own other deck, not even the same deck, and she had just drawn the 3 of Wands. She's like,
wow.
I'm a little wigged out, and she said, and also heard. She said, I will be taking action. I was like, okay, universe is real loud.
Yeah. I love that, and I love that you created your own spreads, things that speak to you. That's what I find so cool about the cards is that there's
Hmm.
so much that you could do with them, and you could
Yes.
really. I mean, you could just learn so much every time you do a new reading. It's like totally fascinating. Okay, Lisa, we're gonna take our break now because I just looked at the clock. And so
Okay.
we'll take our little commercial break and we'll come back and we'll talk more. Stay tuned, everybody. We'll be back in just a couple minutes.
Conscious media for conscious minds. Om Times. Host your show on IOM FM, the radio network of Om Times Media, one of the more recognized brand names in the conscious community, and is backed by the extensive marketing reach of Om Times. Hosting a show on IOM FM immediately connects you with our extensive dedicated community.
My name is Victor Furman. Some call me the Voice. I've always been fascinated with human nature, spirituality, science, and the crossroads at which they meet. Join me Wednesdays at 8 p.m. Eastern on Om Times Radio, and we'll explore these topics and so much more on Destination Unlimited.
Ascending Hearts is no ordinary dating site, but a spiritual dating site with a purpose, to link you with your soulmate. We engineer the serendipity so you can trust that you will attune with someone that has the same matching vibration as you. Ascending Hearts, the conscious dating site for the spiritually aware. Try Ascending Hearts for free, ascendinghearts.com.
Hi, I'm Melissa Caprio from Postcards to the Universe, creating the life you crave. Do you believe in magic? What if I told you all you had to do was get a little creative and work a dream spell to bring anything you can imagine into your life? Well, guess what? I've got the spell for you. Postcards to the Universe, a global movement for manifestation, is a casting magical tool for you to use whenever you want. How does living in passion sound to you? Join me in my movement where you get to create in the magical playground. Let's think outside the box and do some playful conjuring. By casting out our desires with a manifesting postcard, we explore our hearts and allow the alchemy of our dreams to appear. And don't forget to tune in each week here on Om Times Radio with my show, Postcards to the Universe, creating the life you crave at 4 p.m. Eastern Time. I share tips on creativity, abundance, and prosperity, and you will be introduced to the coolest guests, trailblazers, mystics, and creatives who enrich our lives.
Welcome back. If you're just joining me, I'm speaking with Lisa Kessler today. She is the author and the creator of the Practical Tarot Method. Now, you say tarot. How do you say tarot? I can't say it the way you say it. I have to say tarot. It won't come out of my mouth the other way. You say tarot? Like that's how
Tarot.
you say it, right?
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yes.
See,
Everyone,
it just,
that is a funny thing because everyone says it different. Some people actually say tarot. And so anyway, it's however you say it, it's right.
right.
Trust your intuition. But, for me, I have the
Yeah.
silent T, and and if
Yeah.
you say tarot, then or
Yeah,
tarot,
that's the only
you
way
got
I
it.
could say it. So now the artwork on your cards are beautiful. How did you come up with the artwork? Did you work with a designer, an artist to do it, or did you create the artwork yourself?
Yes, I found an artist. She's amazing, Holly Carton, and she does watercolors and illustrations. She's amazing. Everyone should go check out her art. She posts it on Instagram and she has a website. She's just fantastic. And finding her was really what made the whole project come to life. I had written a book proposal for the Practical Tarot Method. I had finished teaching another course of it, and people were like, you should write this book. And I thought, well, I write fiction. I've never written a nonfiction book. And they were like, no, you have to write this. So I thought about it, and I had my agent was fiction agent, but she sent me all kinds of stuff on how to write a nonfiction book proposal. So I did. And then I ended up breaking up with my agent, and I pitched it myself, and I got really close, but never, there were 3 publishers in the end who were interested, but one had just published a tarot book. There were lots of reasons that it wasn't time. And so I shelved the project, kept writing books, and then Kickstarter started happening for authors. And anyway, I thought maybe I should make a deck. I would love to have a tarot deck. And so I reached out to my cover designer for fiction books, and she said, woo, way too far out of my wheelhouse, but I know this great illustrator. I'll introduce you. So I met Holly, and Holly and I had the same vision for making an inclusive, diverse kind of art because that's what
Yeah.
she does. And so she knew nothing about tarot. And I told her, that's okay, we'll do it together. And she made 5 cards with me, and we did a Kickstarter, and it funded. And so we made all 78, which took us so much longer than we had realized. And we did
Sure.
like 3 rounds of edits every time, every card. But I'm so happy with how they turned out because my goal was to have a deck that if you don't know anything about tarot, you can still get messages from it. There's enough imagery, enough symbolism, enough color that you will get something off of these cards, even if you don't pick up the guidebook. And I think we accomplished that. That was the goal. But I just love how it all turned out. We wanted to have at least one card where you turn it over and go, oh my God, it's me. We have people all ages, all sizes, all races, different disabilities are represented. We just wanted everybody to be able to see themselves on the cards because I feel like tarot is such an intuitive tool. And how can you connect with it if none of the cards are you? It just made me think back to that Rider-Waite deck. I thought that I wasn't smart enough for tarot because none of those cards spoke to me. And it
Yeah.
wasn't. It was because I wasn't represented on any of those cards. You know,
Yeah.
I wasn't. So, so anyway, that was my goal, is to make a deck where you could pick it up and just start reading. And so, and I think we accomplished it. The guidebook that the publisher did, they did it in full color. Oh my gosh, it's so beautiful. and with all the meditation tips for each and every card, I feel like people can make their own relationship with tarot, with their own deck, and get messages that are very intuitive, or at least that's the goal. But it couldn't have happened without Holly's beautiful art. And I really feel like the universe pointed me to her at just the right moment. I mean, it was just everything came together. And once I had the deck, I went back to the publishers who were interested in the book and said, how about the book and a deck? And then it
Yeah.
took off from there. So it was great. And I went, okay, universe, I see how you wanted it to come out.
Yeah, I love that. It's beautiful. The images are beautiful. I that's what I love about the tarot decks is they're all so different, but they really are. They're gorgeous. The color is just such a beautiful deck. So, yeah, I could
Thank
see that,
you.
and you can see how everybody's represented in the deck, which is really nice. Yeah, and that leads me to the question of people who are listening who are like, I'm kind of interested. How do I pick a deck? What would you suggest?
Oh, that's a great question. So it used to be in the olden days that you could only see what was the three cards they showed you on the back of the deck. But nowadays, there are so many great YouTubers who will do a flip of the entire deck. So if you're interested in a tarot deck and you think from the three pictures you can see on Amazon and you go, I think I might click with this deck. I highly recommend that you hop on YouTube and find someone who is doing a flip of the entire deck and take a look and see how you connect with them with those cards. Because for me, the image on the card is the most important part. Yes, the guidebook is important to give you some, groundwork in case you do pull a card and go, I don't know. You can reach for the book. But for me, when you're using tarot as a creative tool or as a tool to help you in your life or a meditation tool, it's turning that card over. It's that moment of discovery, and it's the image that clicks with your intuition. So if you have a deck like I did with Rider Waite, where every card you turn over, you go,
Yeah.
It needs to be a deck where every card, and you can see it on YouTube when they're doing their flips, where every card they flip, you're like, oh,
Mhm.
then that is a deck for you. You resonate with that deck. And sometimes it's fun themed decks too. Like if you love dragons, oh my gosh, go get the Crystal Visions Tarot. It's full of dragons and amazing things. And they make these themed decks for, movies and TV now, although I have yet to find one where I'm like, so
Yeah.
they're more into the theme than they are into
Yeah.
tarot, really. But you can find all of these decks usually on YouTube or Pinterest. I've noticed on Pinterest, people will put up their whole deck. Occasionally, reviewers on Amazon will post pictures. I saw a
Yeah.
couple reviews for Practical Tarot where they had the whole deck laid out, which is really helpful to somebody who's looking, because really, if you don't resonate with those images, that's not going to be a great deck for you. And I know that there are decks that people who come to my classes will pick up. And when we get to minor arcana, instead of pictures, they just have 6 sticks on there. Here's the 6 wands, and there's 6 sticks. And that is
Yeah.
really unhelpful for someone who's just learning, because
Yeah.
what message do you get from that? Nothing. You get, go
Yeah.
grab the guidebook.
It's true.
So,
I love decks. Like I picked up a cat deck, cat tarot, and it has all pictures, all illustrations of cats. It's just the cutest
aw,
thing. And when I was in New Orleans, I grabbed a voodoo deck, which are
nice.
unbelievable. But that is way even. There's all the voodoo symbolism and stuff on that.
Right.
I'm just reading the book and I'm just like looking at it, but I'm thinking I am not ready for that deck yet. Like, let me just,
Right. Right.
you know,
Yeah, when
but
people
it's
come
so
to my
fun.
right. Well, when people come
Yeah.
to my class with a deck like that and they look at everyone else's and they're like, I guess I need a different deck because,
Yeah.
mine just has 3 cups on it. Huh.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Yeah.
so
Yeah. Yeah.
definitely, look for something where the images are going to ping your intuition. And if you're just starting out, those minor arcana cards need to have pictures on them.
Yeah, they
Otherwise,
do.
you can't get an intuitive message. You're just constantly going to the book. And I think it
Yeah.
makes it harder for you to learn too, because then you sort of have to memorize the book instead of, using your
Yeah.
intuition. So definitely double check what the minor arcana cards look like, because a lot of times if it's a more advanced deck, they figure you're
Yeah.
going to know, but you're not. If you're just
You're
starting,
not.
you need a
Right.
picture.
Yeah. Yeah, you do need a picture, and it really helps clarify. And I noticed just from my practicing, my deck comes with the correlating um, sign, astrological
Mhm.
sign, the element,
Mhm.
everything's there. So as the more I'm playing with, now this is just a beginner's deck just to learn. Like I
Right.
already know that once I have it, I'm gonna start looking for my deck, the deck that I
Right.
want to start using. Yeah, but for right now, this is working for me because everything is on there, and the more I use it, the more I'm knowing what each what each court card means compared to what each minor arcana, major arcana, all of that kind of stuff, which is important. And it does seem like it's overwhelming when you first open your deck, right?
Mhm.
So, what
Yes.
would be a few tips that you would give us beginners? To help us kind of grasp beyond the images. Obviously, we talked about the images. We know that that's a big
Right.
one. But like, what tips for beginners would you give us?
Well, in the Practical Tarot Method book, I talk about looking for the symbols and the colors
Hmm.
and then the cycles, which is basically the number from ace to 10. And the
Okay.
court cards have their own cycle from page to
Yes.
king. It's ages, the page is your inner child, the knight is your teenage impulsive self rushing in, and then the queen is your nurturing female side, and the king is your masculine authority, judgment kind of side, making money. Um, and so every part of your tarot deck has cycles like this, from ace to 10 for the minor arcana, from page to king for the court cards, and the major arcana, you're going to have lots of people call it the fool's journey, but as a writer, I think of it as the hero's journey. It starts with the quest with the fool, and it comes all the way around to the world, which is you now have a different view of the world. It's completion. And then what do you want to learn next? What's your next dream? And once you see those cycles, then it makes it so much easier when you're learning, when you're just starting out, to go, oh, this is a 5. Halfway through the cycle, everything is a mess. All right. And you don't even have to grab the book. You can just go, okay, this is the element of earth. So Lisa said this is
Yeah.
health and money. And this is the 5. So right here, I'm looking at it and I'm an outsider looking in because I don't know how to get in there. So knock on that door, and so anyway, there's universal imagery like that. And so I
Yeah.
like to get, when you're just starting out and brand new, the deck is usually in order. So don't shuffle it. Go through
Right.
it. Go through the cycle of the major arcana first and see how it goes up and down and up and down. You find your mentor, and then you go within, and then, and then the tower, but then there's hope with the star. And it takes
Right.
you all through the cycle of life. And once you start learning by cycle like that, you don't have to
Mhm.
memorize.
Oh my
And
God,
so
you
when
just
I
taught
teach
me
it,
so much. You just taught me so much. I never thought to look at it as cycle because I noticed
oh,
that. I'm like, the 5 of cups, the 5 of swords, the 5 of
yep,
wands, the five
yep,
of
the
pages.
5
I'm
is a
like, oh
mess.
my God, the 5 is a mess. I'm thinking, why is the 5 such a mess? Not even thinking about it as a cycle. Although I did see the page,
Yeah.
the knight, the queen, and the king. So yeah. Oh, thank you for
Yeah,
that.
so
That's
you
gonna
caught
help
that
me.
cycle. Yeah. Yeah,
That's
yeah,
gonna
it's
help me
so
tremendously.
helpful. Yeah, it's so
Mhm.
helpful if you think of them as cycles, and you can also relate it to your life,
Yeah.
the cycle of wands in particular, you get this great idea and you're going to start, and then the two of wands, you're going to make a choice. Am I going to, knit, or am I going to needlepoint or whatever? And then you get to
Yeah.
the three and it's like my decision's made. It's always got somebody who's ready to go out and start doing it. And then the four, you're like, oh my gosh, I'm good at this. This is going to be
Mhm.
great. And then you get to the five, everything's a mess. And you're like, why did I start this? And then
Right.
the six, you give it to somebody else for some outside validation, and they go, oh my gosh, you are great at this. And you're like, yeah, here I go. And then the seven, you're like, oh my God, why didn't I ask anyone for help? I'm so tired. And,
I
and so
love that.
the cycle really maps out what it's like in real life, when we're doing things.
Mhm.
It's never a straight line. And so
Never.
once you start to recognize the cycle by the numbers on the cards, you don't have to reach for the guidebook. You can recognize it in your life. Oh, yep, that's right where I am. All right.
Oh,
And
that's
yeah,
great. No, that's great because I was going to ask you how we can use the tarot as a tool for personal development, but you're already kind of describing that, right? Like if
yeah,
just you're talking with the wands, and I know the cups have a lot to do with our emotions, right? Where are we
yes.
emotionally? And yeah,
Mm-hmm.
and then the swords, where are we, intellectually, what's going on
Right.
there? And it's
Mentally. Yeah.
mentally, yeah, it's cool. Do you teach this like beginners for like if people are listening, or somebody like me who's kind of doing it self on her own, watching YouTube videos here and there, just playing with the cards, that you actually walk us through how to use the tarot? Do you have a class?
Yeah, I do teach online classes occasionally. I'm teaching tarot for writers again in
Hmm.
July, and we do a lot of those same things, but we relate it to content creation. So,
Okay, right.
characters, backstories, scenes, things like that. I have recorded the practical tarot method. So, if you go to my website, you can find out about being able to watch all of the videos. And then the book, The Practical Tarot Method, is basically the course
Is the
in book
course, right?
form. Yeah.
Okay.
And then I am teaching it locally again here in Florida in June. So
Where are you
that'll be
in
on my
Florida?
website too.
Where are
I'm
you?
in Fort Pierce. I'm right south of
Okay.
Vero Beach and north
Yeah,
of
I'm
West
in Fort
Palm.
Lauderdale. I'm in Fort Lauderdale because I
Oh
was going to say,
my gosh,
if
your
you were
neighbor.
close, if you were close
Yeah.
enough that I could drive to the class, I would come to the class.
Yeah, yeah, but I think you're like 2 hours from
Yeah,
me.
yeah, it's a
Yeah,
little bit of a
a
drive.
little far.
Oh, but that's very cool because some people like to learn by watching videos. Other people, it's
Mhm.
good with books. So I like
Right.
the fact that you have both available to anybody who's really, really interested in learning. So there's many people, not many, well, maybe there are many, but there's some people that have this, using cards is,
Mhm.
dark,
Right.
evil, the occult.
Right.
So what would you
Mhm.
say about that? I mean, I obviously don't believe that, but what would you say
Right.
about that?
Well, there are people sometimes who take my classes, especially when we get to pentacles. They're like, oh, are these witch things, or, or
Right.
whatever. And I'm always quick to remind people, and I talk about in the book as well, but tarot is really great because it has no religious dogma. There is
Right.
no religion tied to it. So you can believe whatever your creator is for you.
Mhm.
This will not shake that. It
Right.
will enhance it. And as far as, is it dark or whatever, I mean, not to bash the woo woo. However, I
Yeah.
always remind people these are pieces of cardboard that are mass printed with pictures
Okay.
on them. These are
Yeah.
not mystical,
Right.
magical. They just are a tool. It's just pictures
Right.
printed on paper. Your intuition is the magic when you use
Yes.
them. So they aren't dark or the occult or anything. They're just a tool for you to get in touch with your higher self, with your intuition, so that the universe or God or whatever source energy, whatever is in your, wheelhouse,
Right.
so that it can get you a message. A lot of times we feel the messages, but we have over years of people telling you it's all in your head, you're imagining it. We talk ourselves out of it. And a tarot
Right.
card can be such a friend when you're feeling like, I don't know, I don't know. You can ask and spread your cards out. You always pull the card you need and get that validation where you go, yes, I knew it. And that is a
Mm.
great feeling to help us learn to trust our intuition, trust your gut. And so, yeah, I don't associate them with the
Me
occult
neither.
at
Me
all.
neither.
They're just a tool.
Yeah. No, I don't either. I don't feel that way. But, and for people who like to study the occult, I mean, it's just information, really. You're just learning about
Right.
other information. So I really wouldn't
Right.
I wouldn't stress about it. How is your deck, the Practical Tarot deck, so unique and different from all the other decks that are out there?
Oh, that's a great question. So when COVID hit, all of my tarot reading ceased at physical
Right.
stores because everything was closed.
Mhm.
So I had to learn to use Zoom. I'm like, oh my gosh. Okay. I learned to use Zoom. But doing that turned into such a huge blessing because I have clients that I read for all over the world. And
Yeah.
I never would have had that before. And as I'm reading more for people from other parts of the world, I started to notice tarot is really white. I'm pulling out decks and I'm like, oh my gosh, everyone is white. I
Mm,
just had never, I was in my bubble and I never noticed before, but I'm like,
sure.
dang it, none of these cards look like real people. And all the people on the cards are always super fit or they're
Right.
fairies or and I just wanted something that people could relate to without it being, this magical,
Yeah.
fantastical dragon or whatever. And I wanted it to look like our world looks so that when you're pulling cards, you find one and go, hey, there's me.
Yeah.
And so for me, that's what makes Practical Tarot different. There are more and more diverse decks now, which is wonderful. I love the Light
Mhm.
Seer. But
Yeah.
even those decks often do not portray anybody with a disability. So, like the
No.
Practical Tarot deck, there's someone with a cochlear implant, and there's someone with born with no legs. There's someone with scoliosis in a wheelchair. Someone with
Yeah.
glasses. That one
I love
surprised
that.
me, but I was like, oh my gosh, there's no one with glasses in any of these cards, and I wear glasses. What? So
I
we
wear
made
glasses too.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it just never occurred to me, but I'm like, hey, none of us with glasses are on any of these cards. So there is someone with glasses in the Practical Tarot.
I
So
love
we just,
that. I love
yeah,
it.
I just
Mhm.
figured if I want it to be an intuitive tool, you need to be able to relate to it. So that was our
Yeah.
goal in making it. And I think that it's rare in tarot to find a deck where everyone is represented. And I'm sure that we missed, some certain,
Right.
I'm sure we
Right.
missed some, but we tried really hard to include everybody, big, small, old, young, everyone. And so to
Love
me,
it.
if you're looking for something where you can settle in and feel like you're a part of the party, that a Practical Tarot is your deck.
Yeah, yeah, and like I said, just check it out. If you go to her website, she has pictures of the deck, and you can see the images. They're absolutely beautiful. Well, the thing I loved about the voodoo deck is they're all black. There's no white
Yeah,
in the deck at all. I've been through. I don't understand how to read it yet, but I've been through the whole deck, and
nice.
it's a beautiful deck too. And there's so many decks out there, but I do love that yours is representing everybody in the world. I mean,
Right,
that you could think of, and that's such a nice thing to be able to see yourself in the cards that you're reading, right? Like, of course you
right,
want to.
right.
So,
Yeah,
Lisa, do
like
you
you're
still
invited.
take? Do you still see new clients? Because I know some readers are so busy and booked up that they don't take on new clients anymore. Do you still do individual readings for people?
Yeah, I sure do. And you can sign up for readings on my woo-woo site, which is metaphysicalmanifesting.com.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, so anybody who's interested in getting a reading. And how long are your readings? Do you have a 30 minutes,
Usually, yeah.
60?
Yeah, usually
Okay.
they're 30 minutes usually. And if you're I do manifesting mentoring, and if we're doing that, the appointments are an hour.
Oh, okay. That's wonderful to know. So you guys who are listening, if you're interested in getting a reading, and I'm assuming, I mean, this is a dumb question, but I'm assuming you use your own deck to read
Yes.
when you're giving somebody a reading. I mean, I already know the answer. I don't even know why I'm asking it. I'm just like, that way, listen, if you want to see what the deck looks like, go get a reading and you can see it on Zoom. She'll show
Right,
you the
right.
deck. Yeah.
Well,
Is there
and
Go ahead.
the weekly tarot readings that I do on my YouTube channel, I've been using my deck, but at Halloween I switched to my favorite Halloween deck. So
Oh, I love that. Oh yeah, tell us about your YouTube channel so people can come and reach and check you out over there.
Yeah. If you go on YouTube, it's LDY Disney is my channel. And I
Okay.
think if you look up Lisa Kessler, I pop up too.
Yeah. Yeah.
But either way, it's I post weekly tarot readings and they're free, so come check it out.
Oh my God, I love that. Thank you so much, Lisa. It was a pleasure talking to you, and I love your deck. Thank you for being my guest today. All right, everybody. Thanks for listening to Postcards to the Universe with Melissa, creating the life you crave. And I'm wishing everyone a wonderful week filled with joy, abundance, and love. Peace.